So we'll trigger the robot and we'll see how it's working. So I'm running on the debugging mode, so you can see how these activities are working. So digitization is happening. Once it's completed, it will go to keyword-based classifier. Based on the classification, it's coming to a invoice extractor. So the document is classified as invoice.
So obviously, an end user processing invoices, let's say, wouldn't need to trigger the robot this way. They would basically just see this as their first entry, in essence, as a in their action list.
Yeah. So here we don't have remittance. I just say it's missing, and you can see here ship2 is not extracted. What user will do is just select this value and plus. So it will add this value to it. And ship to address, we don't have ship to address here. Just say it's missing. And when you go to the line items, you can see we have.
Yeah. So in this case, it made a mistake.
Yep.
So you can see here, it has a column VAT percentage at the line level, which is not very common. So it actually selected that as the quantity. So in this case, we would need to correct it, right? So this is in essence demonstrating a case where the engine made a mistake. It didn't collect the right one. Now, this is a custom model. We can also then, even with the invoice extractor, but we can use the invoice extractor to create a custom model. We could then, in essence, train the system so that basically next time this happens, it would basically correct it. So that basically you don't have to necessarily do this every time. It can go back and improve. So that's the continuous improvement that happens. Now, before you skip it, there you can see also here the confidence levels. So it actually came with the table was a fairly low confidence. Obviously, the ones that you've manually assigned basically is 100%. But for you see 46%, that's a fairly low confidence. So even though it made a mistake, UiPath was pretty sure it made a mistake in that the confidence was very low. So you can see those percentages change, and that is what's going to drive whether it's straight through processing or if it's goes into validation stage. If everything is successful and very high confidence, it can skip the validation station and go straight to the next step to enter into the ERP system.
Yeah. So we have to set up the logic while building the flow. Yeah. So based on the minimum level confidence, we can skip and we can directly make it as a straight through process. Right. So first we have completed one invoice process. One invoice document is processed.
So now we go to the next transaction. So this is
fine. Yep. So again, it's classified as an invoice. You can see here, it's classified as an invoice and invoice number, invoice date.
High confidence, right?
Bill to customer, and billing address. It's almost 90% confidence, not the same. And ship to. Ship to is a plus how person we can change it. And we have ship to address.
these invoices are not the greatest example, but as you can see here, the line items, this time it had a higher confidence level, but even, yes, actually it's correct.
Yes, properly extracted.
Yeah.
Even though there's two different items, it's got properly extracted. Here is like with a kind of a most common
Yeah.
table type we usually get.
So this one, done. So after basically these are done, then they get sent further downstream for further processing, but
Yep.
not in this demo. So now the next
So,
document.
The next document, I think this one is a PO, but we used invoice model. Yeah. So it's a document already classified as PO, you can see here. And we have line items which are properly extracted.
So here you can see high confidence, right?
Yeah. And PO number is not extracted, just because PO and invoice have a little bit common fields, so we can use both of them. Waiting for the petty cache.
All the documents are fed randomly, right?
Yeah.
It's processing concurrently, but it is queuing up to the validation station in random.
So
Like a
one more PO, but I think it's everything is quick. PO date is correct, PO number is correct,
Yeah,
the line
it's
items
good.
are correct. So
Yeah.
This is pretty good.
Next document hopefully is our custom.
no, still it's invoice.
Okay.
So also PO. Maybe let me skip this PO.
It actually looks good. It looks good.
So,
So everything got extracted correctly. But the confidence levels was low, and we haven't set the confidence levels for straight through processing, right? So
no, we didn't add that one. Okay, now we got our custom model.
all right. So this is the new model that we created from scratch. As you can see, it's really not a huge effort to set up even a brand new document type.
So this one contains handwritten documents or handwritten documents. So based on yeah, so we have some values, but we can correct these values.
So
So-
earlier we had a question: can the UiPath process handwritten values? Yeah, of course, yes. But again, yeah, the OCR engine should have a better OCR engine and at least a good clarity of handwriting. Then it should. This is
So-
bad handwriting of mine.
Yeah. I think the point here is also this is where we've done some testing of the various OCR engines between, and at least from what we have determined is if you're having handwritten documents, Google Cloud OCR engine is the best option to use. That's what we have seen have the highest level of success.
We are getting any of the cache.
Yeah, one more.
So this is a native PDF. So this one is properly extracted.
Confidence is very high in this case, almost 90, about 90%.
99, and supervisor name alone is not extracted properly. So we can see how we can handle this kind of situation by using a different methodology. I have a separate code for that. So you can see the table data is properly extracted. And supervisor name for the time being, I select this.
So this is a little tricky because the supervisor name label is not near where it should get it. Yeah, but we have a solution for that. It's just one example of where a little bit of creativity can go a long way.
So again, we have one more document and still the supervisor name is not extracted.
But everything else came in successfully with very high confidence.
Because it's a native document.
Right. So in this, given that this is a custom model, it will also train itself. So basically, as it processes these documents, the confidence levels will keep increasing, and you can kind of see that here. You know how basically the confidence level is very high, except for supervisor.
Yeah, supervisor we can handle. So I will show you another workflow, just exact copy of this workflow, but I introduce one more extractor for supervisor name. I use regex extractor in order to get this supervisor name. So I configured here. So you can see reimbursement form. I have invoice, purchase order, petty cash in regex space extractor. So I need all these fields need to be in my custom model. Only the supervisor name comes from regex-based model.
So this is what Harish was mentioning earlier about the mixed mode. So certain fields can be machine learning based, which these other ones are, whereas this one is regex based.
It's a standard, it's a static, just building a regex model, sorry, regex expression. So in order to process these documents, I have only the petty cash documents, not I don't have all the documents. Just a quick go through. So we have same set of documents, but which are not extracted as the supervisor name previously. But here we can see how it's extracted using regex model.
And this was built 1 hour before this presentation.
Yeah, I know, 1 hour before.
So this didn't take a whole lot of time to build.
You can see now we got supervisor name as well.
So in this case, 100%. So in this case, this would in essence be eligible for straight through processing.
Yeah. So if we set the minimum confidence level, if it is 90% and above, it will go as a straight through process. Because all the other fields are almost 90%. So I have 3 set of documents in order to check. So this one also extracted properly, 100%. We'll go for the next one.
So as you can see, this flexibility of being able to apply different logic, different models, machine learning, regex, and other mechanisms to the different fields gives a lot of flexibility to be able to improve the accuracy and the reliability of the extraction. Okay. So if anyone have any questions, you're welcome to post those questions at any point. Yeah.
So we almost there.
Yeah. So yeah, you can.
it's still packaging. So after that, there's one more status. It's called running. We have to wait till that. So it takes some time.
Okay.
So
So, but again, back on this one, it it would with GPU enabled, then this would move much faster. We have one question where what languages are supported by this engine? And additionally, we can,
uh, right now, English is the supported language for document understanding, but UiPath is leveraging the Japanese, Korean, and all those things. Uh, the ML models is English based at the moment, and they have some pre-built model for Invoice Japan and Australia, and still they are having more type of document as well, not only invoice, utility bills, receipts, purchase orders, like they are building their own models, and user other people's also creating their own models, and you can make it as a public in the skill, so other also can consume your model.
right. Another question we have here is how long time does it take to implement something like this for invoice processing? I can probably answer that. I would you know again it depends a bit on the complexity and also if you have a requirement for additional fields. But in general, something like this for invoice processing, I would say would be a project between 4 to 8 weeks to get this up and running. Also depends on where, in essence, the extracted data needs to go, particularly for invoices. One of the challenges, particularly, is around PO matching and such. So it might take a bit of time but that would be a step handled by the robot afterwards, which again could result in essence failures when it's actually trying to enter this into ERP. So there is but I would say it's between a 4 to maybe I would say 10 weeks project to be able to get this implemented.
So
Yep.
one more question. Cost
Okay.
structure to implement.
So the ballpark cost structure to implement is the question. So I would say there are two elements of this, right? One is the document understanding, basically the UiPath licensing and the cost. And UiPath is actually running a special right now where instead of getting what is it, 16,000 documents, it's 40,000 and that basically is $8,000 for 40,000 documents. That's the current price. Now the other is the implementation. I would say ballpark to implement would be somewhere around I would say 25 or maybe 30,000 Sing. Um, somewhere around there.
Plus, I think in addition, if you're a Singapore-based customer and or if you're a SME or a non-SME, we could also look at the Singapore government enterprise development grants. They are available until September of this year. So the government initiative is to kind of grant up to 80% of the project cost. That includes license and the implementation cost will be covered by the government up to 80%. So that also can be evaluated. We have a detailed process and checklist for that as well.
Yeah, we've done a webinar on that earlier. So, and if you want more details about the grants and the process to get that, but that could cover up to 80%. So if, of both license as well as implementation costs. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have so far. So I think we we have done a really good job of timing this correctly. It's 5:29. We said an hour and a half, and we are right on the dot, finishing up here. We will share the link to this video once we get that uploaded, so that you can go back to this if you need to. Um, and if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We can be reached at contact@simprio.com for any other more questions that you may have, as you explore this further. Yep. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Hope you learned something today. Actually, oh, before I forget, I would really appreciate if everyone, I have a poll, and that's the first time I'm using this. So hopefully I'm doing this correctly. So you should see a poll coming in your Zoom. If you can answer those 4 simple questions, simply yes and no, I would appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, so far, nobody's currently using document understanding. Oh, one is, okay. And we get 3 are considering, and 2 are saying maybe, considering to implement intelligent document processing. We got 5 people, 100% saying they did get a better understanding today. So thank you so much. And if you're interested in a POC specific to your organization, yeah, just drop us a note at contact@simprio.com. We have several people interested in that. So then we will follow up with you separately, and then we can see how we can help you. Okay, let's see if we get more in here. So we have 50% so far. Okay, we'll take that as the end. Yeah. Thank you all very much.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Yeah.